Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to your astrological forecast for next week. This week is coming up a little bit earlier because tomorrow is my birthday, so I will not be working, and I will probably record the practical application of astrology, my last one from Puerto Vallarta on Sunday, so stay tuned. So today, April the 25th, Mercury just stationed direct. I'm sure many people are happy to hear that, even though we cannot stop living just because Mercury goes retrograde every 3 months or so, but I'm sure that people might be relieved to hear that Mercury as of this morning is now direct, so we will have a little bit of a break from Mercury retrograde. So right now at the moment all the planets are direct. That this of course will change next week because Pluto will be stationed in retrograde, and we will talk about that. So later on tonight or tomorrow morning, depending where you are in the world, Moon will move into sign of Sagittarius, where Moon will be for the majority of the weekend. However, on Sunday Moon will move into sign of Capricorn, so we will enter into a new week with Moon yet again in a cardinal sign, and this time it's Capricorn. So it's all about new direction, new definition, new structure of reality and all the rest of it. And interestingly enough, right off the bat on Monday the 29th, Venus as the ruler of the South Node is moving into the sign of Taurus, where she's in her rulership. It's one of the two signs Venus rules, and Venus will remain in the sign of Taurus until May 23rd. So I believe that's the day of our full moon in Sagittarius, right? So anyway, that's Venus. On Tuesday the 30th, Moon will move into the sign of Aquarius, and Mars, as the ruler of the North Node, will move into the sign of his rulership, into the sign of Aries. So this is where you can say the Aries season really begins, even though now we are already in Taurus season, but throughout the entire Aries season and the solar eclipse in Aries and all the rest of it, also this full moon in Scorpio we just had, traditionally ruled by Mars. Mars was in a sign of Pisces, which is all about culmination. It's all about understanding the meaning of the past cycles, so we don't have to keep recreating the same wheel, right? So now, as of Tuesday the 30th, Mars is in the sign of his rulership, and this is the real fire, Mars in Aries, right? And Mars will remain in Aries until, until June 6th. So that's Mars will move into sign of Taurus right after the new moon in Gemini, which will be on 6/6. Okay, we're moving on. On Tuesday the 30th or Wednesday the 1st, May 1st, Venus, as the ruler of the South Node, will make her first square to Pluto since their conjunction, which took place on February 17th. So this is the crisis in action, and that represents a need for change, because this is something that we actually have to do tangibly, because crisis in action is telling us that we need to make a certain adjustments in our physical reality, whereas the crisis in consciousness is something we have to release more mentally and spiritually in order for the cycle to end. But this one is crisis in action, and Venus now being in a sign of her Taurus at that time is helping us to understand ourselves, what are our needs, values, our relationship to our life, right? Because Taurus is about you. Taurus, it's about your self-worth, about your self-sufficiency, self-reliance, ability to survive. How much do we trust ourselves in order to create what we want? And this is a crisis in action. So it's saying that, okay, if your needs are not being met, if that which you perceive as important for yourself is not materializing in your life, then what do we need to change? What needs to change in order for that to happen? So as I already mentioned, on Wednesday we are entering into new months. That will be May the 1st. On Thursday the 2nd, we'll have Pluto station in retrograde in the sign of Aquarius on 2 degrees and 6 minutes, which adds up to number 8. And we know we are in the year number 8, right? Just saying. And Pluto will remain retrograde until October 12th, and it will station direct on 29 degrees and 39 minutes. And I didn't add those two together, but let's see, 29, that's 11, and 3 and 9, that's 12. So that's 3, 2 and 3, that's change. Okay, well, let's see what's gonna change by October, right? But interesting thing that I've noticed is that Pluto is stationed in retrograde, well, of course on May the 2nd, but it's stationed in retrograde whilst Moon is still in the sign of Aquarius. Moon will move into the sign of Pisces afterwards on the same day, but at the time when Pluto stations retrograde, Moon is in the sign of Aquarius. And guess where Moon is going to be when Pluto stations direct? In Aquarius. And actually it's very interesting, this station direct on October 12th, because there will be a lot of things happening at the time. There will be all sorts of aspects, but anyway, I'm not gonna dive into all of that, not to confuse people, because we'll get there when we'll get there. I'm just saying, between now and Pluto is stationing retrograde and Pluto will station direct, we will have and be done with another eclipse season, because Pluto will station direct 10 days after the second eclipse of the fall, which will be the solar eclipse in Libra. And it will be right before the full moon in Aries, which is not going to be an eclipse, but still it's going to illuminate something that got seeded now during this solar eclipse, total solar eclipse in Aries, because the full moon in Aries will be happening on October 17th. So as I mentioned, right after Pluto stations direct, and actually right after Pluto stations direct, it's going to have a square with Mercury on 29 degrees of Capricorn, because Mercury will be in the sign of Libra at the time. But anyway, like I said, there are a lot of things happening at the time, which I'm not going to dive into any deeper, but there is a lot that's going to take place between now and then, and I'm sure we will all see everything quite differently by the time we have a full moon in Aries, right? So Friday, what day is Friday? Friday is the 3rd. We'll have Mars now in Aries at this time, making a first sextile, because Mars is now the one behind everybody else. First sextile to Pluto since their conjunction, which was on Valentine's Day on February 14th. And now Mars, as I mentioned, is in a sign of his rulership in Aries. We really going ahead. This is where really the new cycle is really starting, really starting. I mean, we already had a new year, astrological new year in Aries season. Then we had even the ruler of the south node, Venus, conjunct the north node, so the new cycle started with that. And now Mars, as the ruler of the north node, is in Aries, and on Friday the 3rd is making a first sextile to Pluto since their conjunction, and this is the Taurus flavor, and we are in Taurus season, which is again saying the same thing. We need to get to know ourselves better and go after our needs, values, and that which matters to us. So no longer wait for the external environment to just guess that this is what we need, and then also hope that everybody has our best interest in mind. But with Pluto being in Aquarius, it's saying, well, you need to individuate, you need to find your own tribe, you need to be sovereign, you need to go after what you need, be authentic, all the rest of it. So Mars making a first sextile to Pluto since their conjunction is really making us to feel it. It's like now Mars will be in Aries. It will be really create all this fire within us. It might be a lot of anger, especially because it's a Taurus season. It might be all this like internal process, like this like sense of like volcano, like we need to go after what we want because we can no longer rely on the external environment to just give it to us. You know, this is not the time and age, unfortunately, that we're living in anymore. Okay, Saturday the 4th, Moon will move into the sign of Aries, and then there are aspects between planets, actually between the ruler of the North Node and South Node, and asteroids. Venus will make a trine to Juno, and Mars will make a trine to Pallas, and then on Sunday it will be quiet. And this is the preparation for the new moon in Taurus, which will take place the following week on May the 7th. And in Mexico time, it will be at 21:21, but I will be already in Europe at that time. So for me, it will be actually on May the 8th. So yes, so we will talk about that next week, but moon will remain in the sign of Aries until Monday. And right after moon moves into the sign of Taurus on Monday the 6th, we will have the third and final conjunction between Mercury in Aries and Chiron in Aries, and this is when Mercury, of course, is direct, and Mars as the ruler is already in Aries, and also on the same day we'll have Sun sextile Saturn. So like I said, this is something we will be talking about next time, and this is all to do, including what's happening actually next week, it's all to do with the new moon in Taurus now, because what we just experienced this week, when I'm recording this, obviously a few days post this Scorpio full moon, to be exact 2 days, there's been a lot. There's been a lot that got illuminated to us with regards to where is the power or where is the lack of power in our life? Where do we feel empowered or disempowered? Because it's Scorpio, and we know that the Scorpio new moon, when it got seeded, it was right after the eclipses as well. This was a Scorpio full moon right after the eclipses. You know, the first lunation after the eclipses. I covered it into depth in like 4 videos with on my own, with my friends. So all of that could be found on my YouTube channel. But I believe for many of us, a lot of things became illuminated with regards to old patterns, because Mars, of course, at the time still in the sign of Pisces. And one important thing that I completely forgot to mention. Oh my God. Yes, on Sunday this week, before we even get to Venus moving into Taurus and Mars moving into Aries, I don't know how I could have forgot that. Of course, Mars is making a conjunction to Neptune, so that's this Sunday. So I'm recording this on Thursday. Mercury station in direct, and the other most important thing that's happening this week, apart from the full moon in Scorpio we've just had, is the Mars conjunct to Neptune, because this is what is really closing the cycle of the past. Because the last time, as I already covered in my last video, last astrological forecast, the last time Mars made a conjunction to Neptune was in 2022, May 18, 2022, which was right after the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And I believe at the time, right, it was trined by Mars. So, well, at least this, I know the South Node was tried by Mars, but I'm pretty sure that was... So anyway, that again was covered fully in my previous astrological forecast. But yes, so this week when we had this full moon in Scorpio, a lot of things became illuminated to us with regards to this empowerment, disempowerment. Where are we evolving? Where do we feel stuck? Where do we feel that still somebody else has a control of our life, and we are going in a direction we don't want to go, but we feel that we have no choice. We feel victimized by the circumstances. So all of this would have become illuminated. Also the lack of balance, the lack of harmony in our environment, because Venus is still in the sign of Aries at this time, ruled by Mars in Pisces. So all these old patterns, even though Venus is now in a new phase conjunction with North Node, but we know Venus will have one more conjunction with the South Node right before the eclipses in September. So all of these patterns are now no longer they cannot be ignored anymore. So the things that we could tolerate in the past and just go like, well, never mind, this is how it is, this is how it's always been, this is what everybody is doing, so it must be normal, right? It is no longer the case, because now Pluto is in Aquarius, everything has changed, right? And Mars is just about to conjunct Neptune, but the last time Mars conjunct Neptune and now Mars conjuncting Neptune, the energy is completely different. Everything has changed. So this makes it no longer tolerable. That which was tolerable before is no longer tolerable, because we went through all these big cycles, you know, like the last eclipse cycle when North Node was in Aries, 2004, 5, 6, right? Well, 2 and 4, 4 and 5, because then it was still an eclipse in Aries, but the nodes were already moved. So anyway, and then we also had the recent Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which once again started a brand new cycle that got reset. The previous cycle between Jupiter and Uranus, Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that happened in Taurus was in 1941. It was the Second World War, right? And then the last conjunction between the two of them, just last one, was in 2010, 2011. So what was going on in the world back then? We know every time we look in a history, there is some kind of situation, right? So we don't have to go digging very far and very deep. Everything is always coming around, right? We are always re-experiencing the same unhealed wounds, right? Because we know the solar eclipse in Aries, the total solar eclipse in Aries on the North Node happened in an exact conjunction with Chiron. And also Venus is now in a new phase conjunction with Chiron. Mars, as the ruler of the North Node and as the ruler of Chiron, will conjunct both next month in May. And also Mars will, in the summer, conjunct Uranus, the ruler of Pluto. So we can see how everything is, that the wheel is turning, the dial is turning. So we are completely like I can literally just feel that there is like what I'm getting, like an analogy, like you can see this machine, you know, and just keeps going, it keeps going, and now suddenly everything is like slowing down, everything is slowing down, and then the machine is gonna start again, but it's going to do something different. It's like, you know, it's like it's gonna go in a, like maybe like a boat, right? Like a boat. So you have like everything is shut down, you know, the engines is like slowing down, and then it like picks up again, but it starts going in a very different direction. There is a motorbike again. So this is like the kind of analogy I'm getting, that everything is slowing down, and then it's kind of like something is shifting, like, you know, like the navigation, the direction we go in is completely like, it's this big turn, you know, like when you have a boat and it's like the whole boat is turning like a cruise ship. I mean, I obviously worked on a cruise ship, but I was on it. But if you can observe the ship from the port, and when it just like turns like, you know, and it takes a long time, because especially the bigger the ship, the longer it takes, because, you know, there is a lot of tonnage that needs to be moved, right? But that's what I feel. You know, we are like this machine that's just been going, you know, we just been going for all this time, and it was like, you know, like it wasn't necessarily going anywhere, but we were going, right? It was like, well, old machine, we just didn't stop, right? It just kept going. But now, because of the circumstances, because of the energy, the things are like, you know, when you put your foot on a you know, brake, and you need to brake, like, you know, it's just like everything is coming to a screeching halt. And now things are starting to pick up again, you know, the whatever, you know, this thing that's moving is starting to pick up again, but it's going in a very different direction. So this is exactly what's happening right now with the stars, with the planets. Things are starting to pick up again, but they're going in a very different direction. And we are trying to adjust to this energy, because there's so much to process, because as I mentioned, as I talked about previously, we have the totality of understanding of the Pisces age. Everything that we experiencing in the world right now, we understand it fully, because it's been going on for such a long time. We don't necessarily like it, we are not comfortable with it, but we are like, well, this is how it is, this is how it's always been, you know. There is a war, so yeah, we need to go and fight, we need to go and join and pick a side, right? Or we need to go and support one side or another. And like, you know, like all these stories we were being told, like, well, there is no other way, there is no other way, we just need to go and join this battle, right? We just need to go and join, because this is what we've always done. But now we're starting to understand that actually, but that led to another situation exactly like the same one. We've done this many times, and we have a proof throughout the history that this approach doesn't work, because we found ourselves in the same situation, right? So now, now Mars is gonna conjunct Neptune, right? Neptune, invisible. You know, I was like, I have it in my notes. I'm like, how did I skip through Neptune? You know, it's all nebulous behind the veil. Like, hey, you know, listen, you just forgot about Neptune-Mars conjunction. You didn't mention it. It's happening on. I mean, I covered it in my previous astrological forecast, and this is about next week. But this is very important component, because we had the full moon in Scorpio squared by Pluto. I mean, no kidding, squared by Pluto. So it's saying there is no more hiding, okay? This is a square. You need to resolve it. That's it, right? And at the same time, Uranus is the ruler of Pluto. Just few days before, literally 2 days before, started a new cycle with Jupiter, right? In the sign of Taurus, ruled by Venus in Aries, ruled by Mars in Pisces, just about to have a conjunction with Neptune. So we can see how everything is connected, you know, everything is connected. We can just go jumping from planet to planet. So this illumination squared by Pluto showed us, okay, this is the problem. This is where we feel disempowered. This is what needs to change, because now we are living in a different times. We are no longer living in a Pluto in Capricorn times, even though Pluto has one more retrograde in Capricorn. I need to keep mentioning this because it's not to be overlooked, because Pluto will only be on 29 degrees. As I just read, Pluto, okay, Mercury station direct, but still, you know, just excuse. Pluto will not get further than 29 degrees 39 minutes. This is literally how far Pluto is going to get in Capricorn. It's just going to be dancing on the last degree and minutes, you know, like that's where it's going to stay. Literally it's going to be on 29 degrees for 10 weeks. It's going to be retrograde. So that's the end of it, right? That's the 29 degrees. It's the end of it. That's like the 5 to 12, right? So we no longer living in the times. I'm so sorry, but the fan is blowing my baby hair in my face. So we no longer living in the times of Pisces age, or Pluto in Capricorn, or Pluto in anywhere else where it's been before, because as I keep saying, once Pluto is done with the sign, that's it. That's it, it's dismantled. Like Pluto is like, it like zaps the last of it out of it and say, no, this is now outdated, it needs to be transformed. It needs to be it needs to be transmuted, it needs to become something different now, because it's no longer supporting us on our evolutionary path, right? So now this Pluto just squared this full moon, right? Which is why all this, I mean, you cannot call it anything else but obscene situations are happening in the world. This is like so ridiculous, this. And I mean, again, I don't even watch news, but the news find me. But this obscene situation, this obscene repeat of the history is just so incredible that we are still re-experiencing the same pattern. But of course, they're not going to just disappear on their own. We need to heal them and understand the lesson of this, right? So anyway, so everything became illuminated this week. It was an intense full moon. We had square by Pluto. I mean, this is not just any any full moon when it's squared by Pluto. This is something that is really like, pay attention over here. And now we have Mars making a conjunction to Neptune at the end of the week, and Mars is the ruler of the North Node. This is the evolution, the North Node, where we head in Aries, new direction. Mars was until now in the sign of Pisces. It's saying, well, in order to get there, in order to go in this new direction, we need to understand the past. So we don't have to keep recreating it, keep reliving it. So now Mars and Venus, both the ruler of the South Node and the ruler of the North Node. So Venus is going to move into the sign of Taurus on Monday. She's moving first, whilst Mars is on 29 degrees. Venus is the ruler of the South Node. We'll already be in Taurus, but Mars will be still on 29 degrees on Aries, because Mars is moving the day after Venus, right? Mars is moving on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending where you are in the world. I mean, I myself will be already in Europe. So anyway, and then on the same day, we'll have the Venus as the ruler of the South Node, making a square, right? Making a square to Pluto, yeah. So on a day, a few hours later, so Venus moves into Taurus, Mars will move into Aries, and then Venus will make a square to Pluto, and then right after Pluto stations retrograde on Thursday, Mars will make a sextile to Pluto. But Pluto is already retrograde. So these are like the minor aspects, square is a major aspect, but these are like, with the square, that's like the first quarter, right? So as I mentioned, with the Venus and Pluto is the crisis in action. So now we, over this past, because Venus obviously moves much faster than Mars, over this past 2.5 months, what have we learned with regards to ourselves? What did we learn with regards to our relationships? And what did we now realize that needs to change, and we need to adjust, because we're not the same people we were before. And also the world we are experiencing now has changed, but the way we changed, the world still tries to, it has changed, but in certain ways it still tries to operate on the same program, on the same, the same rules of matrix, right? With regards to the, as I said, same situation, same response leads to the same result, which is the same problem, right? So now with this square between Venus and Pluto, which we will be experiencing right after Mars moved into Aries, it's saying something has to change. Now Venus is in her own rulership, so she's no longer ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Aries. And it's a Taurus season, so now Venus is the ruler of the sun, no Mars. So Venus is making a square to Pluto, so it's saying, okay, well, where do we feel disempowered? Something just got illuminated to us in Scorpio Full Moon, right? And Scorpio goes really deep. It really pokes you where it hurts. It really, like, all this old shame, guilt, all these things that we don't want to face, we don't want to look at, that are still making us feel afraid and disempowered. All that became illuminated. It all came up, right? Venus already in a new phase conjunction with Chiron. It's saying, okay, we need to look at this. We need to look at this, because then Mars, as the ruler of North Node and Chiron, will have a conjunction with North Node and Chiron in May. So as of June, by which point Jupiter is already in Gemini, by that point Jupiter is already in Gemini, which is telling us we need to start thinking wider. We need to start going beyond with the stories that we were being told, because this is no longer in resonance. Because Jupiter, as soon as Jupiter moves into Gemini, it will make a trine to Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto retrograde, of course. So Pluto has shown us now since January the 20th, when Pluto moved into the sign of Aquarius for the second time. It already had this short stint in Aquarius last year. Pluto has been showing us this is where we're going. So let's just see this year what we've experienced since January. We know that the time is like going rapidly fast. I mean, you can literally keep looking at the seconds and they're going much faster. It's not like 1, 2, 3. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, it's like literally. It's not even kidding. It's not even a joke. If you keep looking at your seconds, you know, and at your phone at the time, you will notice it's moving much faster because everything has sped up. So like I said, even though we are, you know, like you can say, oh yeah, it's only May. It's already May. You know, by next week it's already May. It's already 5 months, you know, in a new year, which is crazy. I mean, it feels like yesterday we were talking about Christmas and New Year, right? And I remember at the end of January, you know, many people were saying it felt like it's a different year already, you know, like January, like it was the entire 2024, and now we're already somewhere different, right? And I also felt that there was another like a quantum jump after this solar eclipse, you know, the total solar eclipse. And now this is how it goes, because Uranus is going to come closer and closer to Gemini, and next year Uranus is going to move into Gemini. It is going to retrograde into Taurus once more, but as of 2026, that's it. We'll have Uranus in Gemini, Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and not long after, Chiron is going to move into Taurus, 26, 27, I believe. And of course, Pluto is in Aquarius, right? And everything else that's going to be taking place. And of course, 2026, we will have next Mars-Neptune conjunction, right? Very likely in Aries, but I didn't double check, so don't hold me on that. But I think it might be in Aries already. But anyway, don't take this information as a holy grail, because I didn't check. But it's just, you know, what I'm feeling into intuitively, because 2026 is a huge year. Also, the nodes will be in Aquarius Leo, right? So it is a big year, 2026. So all that we experiencing now is literally preparing us. Like, you know, every year is an important year, of course, but this year is the pivotal year of change, you know, the pivotal year of change and of choice. People need to decide. And now with all these lunations we've been experiencing, they are unveiling and uncovering more and more of that which was hidden for all this time, which we didn't even notice, because like I said, we were like a well-oiled machine that just kept going, but now the oil dried off, so the thing is coming to the hold. And then, you know, we need to refill, and we're going to go somewhere different. We're going to go in different direction. We might realize that, oh, well, actually this oil is damaging. Maybe this thing is no longer what we want to use, right? Whatever it is. I mean, you know, I'm obviously not a mechanic. I can't tell you the right terminology for all this, but this is what I'm like seeing as an analogy. So anyway, so next week, things are really... because I mean, to have the ruler of the South Node now in a new phase conjunction with both North Node and Chiron, and then the ruler of the North Node and moving into his rulership, and the ruler of the South Node moving into her rulership after the full moon in Scorpio, and of course prior to that eclipses, and just before the new moon in Taurus, ruled by Venus, and of course Venus will be in a sign of her rulership. I believe she might be probably conjuncting it. I didn't look at the chart of the new moon in Taurus yet, but either way, Venus as the ruler will be in her sign of rulership. This is very powerful. So anyway, so all of that happening literally in 1 week. Because I mean, you don't have Venus moving into Taurus and Mars moving into Aries day after one another every year. I mean, not likely, you know, so this is crazy, you know. So we have Mercury station direct, we have Mars conjunct Neptune, and then we have Venus moving to the sign of rulership, Mars moving into the sign of rulership, Venus making a square to Pluto, Mars making a sextile to Pluto. And this is all preparation. And of course, as I already mentioned, there's going to be the third conjunction between Mercury, newly in, you know, direct now, and Chiron, and then the first sextile between Sun and Saturn. But either way, what we can see here is that things are moving, because we're going towards the Taurus new moon now, which is like, with the Aries, there is this new idea, this new spark, right? It's the beginning of the journey. But with the Taurus, it's like, okay, now what do I want it to be? Because now I need to, you know, like it's this first sprouting, you know, that it's becoming tangible, you know, we are starting to give it, you know, a form, right? So it's no longer just an idea, just like this fire of creativity, you know, like the point of conception, you have like this, you know, this burst of energy, but now something, some form is being, you know, shaped, you know, it's growing. So this is where we at. There is a new moon in Taurus. Okay, it's a new moon. Well, I mean, it's not yet. You know, this is on the 7th, so I'll cover it next week. But this is what we building up towards. So of course, moon will be, you know, coming towards the point of the new moon. So the moon is losing light now because we had the full moon. So the moon is now losing light. So this is more and more about going inwards. You know, moon will have the last quarter square. You know, like. From Taurus, anyway, you know, the week before we had, so we had the full moon, and the week in between the two lunations, you have the last quarter square in this case, because it's coming up towards the new moon. So what this means, because moon is our inner world, you know, it's how we feel internally, and the identities that we, you know, we are attached to in this reality, we are going to be reborn. Because with the Taurus, it's saying that, okay, well, there was this new energy that just came recently, you know, this spiritual fire of creation, because during the Aries season, Mars was in a sign of Pisces, as I mentioned. So there was this new energy that came through for all of us, you know, ready or not, the energy is here, you know, also with all these crazy things that's happening with Schumann resonance and solar flares and whatever else that's going on, you know, everything is supporting us, because there is a lot of this new energy present that there wasn't before. And now we're going to have a, you know, build up with all this rule of the North Node, South Node in rulership, Pluto station in retrograde, because we are needing to reevaluate more. All this is happening prior to the new moon in Taurus, and actually Pluto will move back into Aquarius around the time of the full moon in Taurus, because it's happening on November 19th, and the full moon in Taurus is like mid-November, I believe. So it's gonna be, I believe, right after that. So anyway, so what we have going on here is this growth of the energy that came through. The energy that came through, the energy that got seeded, that got streamed into the planet Earth. Actually, the whole thing was concepted in 2023. I mean, you can say the whole thing's been concept in, you know, you can even say in the last, you know, Aries, Libra, eclipse, North Node in Aries. And then, of course, like I said, we had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the first one of the 3, because there were 3 of them, happened on 0 degrees Aries. So yeah, so this all already was there, like at the beginning of this century, you know, after 2000, you know, when we entered into this century, all this energy was, you know, this machine already started having premonition that we starting to turn, you know, it already started stopping, you know, it already started slowing down, and then we knew that there was a point when it's going to come to the halt, and we're going to have to start going in a new direction. And now is the time when we are starting to go into this new direction, because now the energy is going to start taking form. Because Taurus season, the new moon in Taurus, whilst Venus will be in the sign of her rulership, and Mars, as the ruler of the North Node, will already be in Aries, in the sign of his rulership. And as I mentioned, on the May 2nd, Pluto is stationed in retrograde, because this is a huge energy that we need to adjust to. So yes, we might have an intention, you know, we might have these thoughts like, oh yeah, that's fantastic, you know, and this is like talking even from my own experience, that we have all these like mental and even spiritual aspirations, that this is great, you know, yeah, this new age of Aquarius, all this freedom and sovereignty and equality for all, that's amazing. Yeah, let's bring it on. But hold on a minute, this is not how it's been for past few thousand years. So this is not gonna just change overnight. Like, yes, it can change in your inner world, and that's 100%, and then more and more you will see it in your own reality. However, we are still physical being while we are in this body, and we are experiencing the reality, the tangible form around us, and that will take time to change. Right, so that's why Pluto, you know, usually is retrograde for like what, 5 to 6 months. I think it's like 5 months, where May till October, yeah, like five months and 10 days it's gonna be this year. That's why Pluto is retrograde such a long time, and that's why Pluto spends in one sign such a long time. It's gonna be in Aquarius for on and off 21 years, right? Because these changes, they take time, because once Pluto is done with the sign, we can never go back to the same thing, right? I mean, things come around, of course, you know, because everything is a spiral, you know, there is no beginning and end as per se, it's all spiral. But now we're going up on a spiral. So this is why, you know, like Pluto has to station retrograde, because all these new energy stream through, right? It got concepted last year. Now we really had it, like, you know, it really got activated. This solar eclipse on the North Node in a new phase conjunction, that's it. We're going ahead. You know, rule of the South Node conjuncted North Node. Now rule of the North Node is going to conjunct the North Node in the middle of May next month. We're going ahead. And, you know, now Taurus season, things are starting to take the seed is starting to grow, you know, it's like taking on a form, because we are really creating this new earth. It's really, really happening. It's not just BS, it's really, really happening, which is why we see this manifestation of the old world in its last thrones of death, trying to hold on for dear life to this, of this power, you know. That's why it's like, like, seriously, guys, when did you ever, like, I mean, experience, obviously, you know, we all have a limited amount of memory of this incarnation, you know, like, okay, well, I haven't been around 50 years ago or whatever, you know, or 100 years ago when it was the previous war, Second World War, you know, like, okay, 90 years ago or 80 years ago, whatever. But anyway, but when did you ever hear of all these things happening at the same time? You know, everything is happening at the same time, like literally crazy stuff is happening at the same time, you know, like you can't make up things happening at the same time. Well, that's because it's all this distraction, yeah, and it's distraction and distraction, both distractions, right? Is to derail us for focusing on manifesting this, like working consciously with this new energy that is now being formed. So it's like, you know, when you have a baby and then it becomes a toddler, you know, when they are this age, like 3-year-old, 4-year-old, you really need to be careful what you say to that kid, because they're like a sponge. You know, like whatever you program into them, it's going to, you know, that's how they're going to interact with their environment based on what they're being programmed, right? So this is where we are, right? With this, especially with this Mars making a sextile to Pluto on Friday, which is the first sextile, like I said, Taurus, again, Taurus flavor. We are in Taurus season. Venus is in Taurus. We're going to have a new moon in Taurus. It's all about Taurus. It's all about the form. Now, we really need to be conscious of how are we forming, what are we forming? What are we forming out of this energy? So that's why we see this distraction and distraction. There is so much distraction because all this low vibrational dense energy is very loud. Like, you know, like you had the opportunity to hear in my videos in past few weeks, all this noise, you know, all this unpredictable noise is so loud. It tries to take your attention and derail you and bring all this unhealed wounding to the surface to make us paralyzed and to distract us from the awareness that actually the energy completely shifted. This is not the same world which we were experiencing in 1940s or even in 2010 or 2011, not even 2020. This is a very different world that we are playing with right now because of the energy that has completely changed. And like I said, with all this support we are getting, you know, from the cosmos, and there is so much support available to us right now because what's happening on this planet is not separate from what's happening elsewhere in the universe, multiverse. So this is a very pivotal time in our history because we are creating this, we are, like I said, we are changing a course. We are going into completely different directions. So we are being, you know, we are being a center of attention as planet Earth, because this is huge. This literally we are at the turning of the wheel. The wheel is turning. Yeah, we are already in Aquarius age, but we still experience the totality of manifestation of the Pisces age because the age is just switched. I mean, it's what, 2,160 years or something? It's about 2,100 years. I don't know the change, even though it's at 60 years, you know, that's not a change. That's somebody's lifetime. But, you know, in the big scheme of things, you know, that's not a long time, right? So, yeah, so these ages, they take over 2,100 years. And now, yes, we are in the first, I don't know, 100 years of the Aquarius, perhaps, whatever, it switched sometime last century. But all we can see is the totality of the previous age, you know, the familiarity of all of that, but it no longer fits because the new energy is already here. So this totality of that which was familiar and served us previously and we have a memory of, is ingrained in our collective consciousness and in our memory database because of our ancestor life and past lives memory, but it's no longer in resonance with who we are because we are now in the age of Aquarius, but the wheel is just switched, right? So it's very confusing times. That's why it's so confusing, and that's why it's not so easy to just completely change a course, because it's like, we need time for the form. The form needs to adjust. The body needs to adjust. That's why we, again, I can talk for myself, but as I've been sharing, I was experiencing so much tiredness, and it feels like there is so much less time available in a day because the time goes so much faster. So this week, because I want to pull some cards, so, already 40 minutes. This is what's shifting this week. Mars is conjuncting Neptune. We had the totality of illumination, Scorpio. Where do we feel empowered, disempowered? What needs to change in order for us to go in this new direction? Pluto in Aquarius, squaring the full moon in Scorpio, right? Now we have Mars as a traditional ruler of Scorpio, making a conjunction to Neptune. The cycles of cycles are ending because Neptune is a totality of everything that came before. Pisces is a totality of everything that came before. Not just Pisces and H, everything that came before. Mars is the ruler of the North Node, is conjuncting Neptune. Simultaneously, right after, Venus is moving into Taurus, Mars is moving into Aries, and the rest of it that's taking place next week, including then after Pluto station in retrograde. It's also interesting that Venus is making a square to Pluto before Pluto stations retrograde, but Mars is making a sextile to Pluto whilst Pluto is in retrograde. Why? Because Venus is the ruler of the South Node. So Venus is squaring a Pluto with this, we know where we're heading, and, we don't know exactly where we're heading, but we know we're heading somewhere different, but we know where we've been, the South Node. So this is the difference, yes. So with the Venus as the ruler of the South Node squaring the Pluto, first quarter square crisis in auction, we know where we've been, so we understand what it is that needs to change. We don't know exactly where we're going, but we understand what needs to change, especially with regards to, relationships, to ourselves, to others. Now, Mars, as the ruler of the North Node, this is where we don't know where we're going. Is the unknown, is this new direction, is exciting, but we don't know where we're going, is the unknown, right? Mars making a sextile to Pluto, but Pluto is already retrograde because it's saying but we need to integrate this, because retrograde planet is is on an accelerated path of evolution, but it's very internalized. We need to take it within. So Mars is we're going ahead. I'm in Aries by this point, right? But Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. So it's saying, we're going in this new direction, but we need to integrate because the form has to adjust. The body has to adjust. Our brain has to adjust. That's why Mercury was retrograde in Aries, because of that very reason. And it's conjuncting Chiron 3 times because of that very reason. Each time Mars was in a different sign. Because Mercury is the wound, is make us to look at different area, different aspects of where are we wounding and how are we affected by the wounds, right? And as I mentioned, the little caveat of Pluto station in retrograde and direct while Moon is in a sign of Aquarius. I mean, no kidding. What is the chance for that? Moon being in the same sign at the same time. And I mean, this is what I said, 5 months and 10 days, right? So there is no coincidence in these things. And actually, Pluto is stationed in retrograde. 2 degrees 6 minutes. Like I said, number 8, strength. What are we building? We're building strength. Strength, resilience is stepping into our power and understanding that we can manifest something different. Because everything we are experiencing right now, we manifested it. So then it's time to actually start manifesting what we want, not what we don't want. Because how many people will turn on the news and be happy about what they hear? And it's not oh my God, I didn't manifest that. But by not making a different choice under all circumstances, we all collectively manifested that. So something has to change. And we can say but how can we change it? I'm just the one person. There is 8 billion people out there. How many people are in charge? Many, many less. So this is the difference, how that's going to play out, I don't know, but something has to change. We cannot keep going this way that, the representatives of our government signed off this massive fat check to go and support war that nobody wants. And where is the money coming from? And these people, they are what we call public servants, aren't they? Right? So anyway, I don't want to go into politic debates, but can we understand what's going on here and how world change? We have to take our power back. So the world doesn't happen just for, to us, to help us. You know what I mean? So the world doesn't just happen by random for us, like, oh yeah, well, I don't, nothing to do with me, I just pay my tax and I don't know what they do with it, right? But now when we can see these obscenities happening in the world, now we're starting to pay attention, like, what do you mean you signed a check for unbelievable amount of money to go support what? We don't want any of that. I mean, who does? Maybe somebody out there does, but no, I mean, I don't know many normal people who want that. So this is what I mean, right? So this is what's happening, and Pluto is gonna go retrograde because it's saying, well, guys, we need to integrate this and see how this is gonna play out. Retrograde, we need to go inwards and go, this is what I feel I want different world. I want the world of equality, world of fairness, justice, where people can actually, doesn't matter what the hell you believe or what I believe, but we can just respect each other, and like, we don't have to be best friends, but we can still live next to each other without wanting to cause harm to one another, because why would we? And this is like, everybody has a right for that. So with this age of Aquarius, that's where we get in. That's where we go in. How we gonna get there? Oh, who knows? But we go in there. The energy is already here. Like I said, it's already taking a form, right? And it's going to be manifesting over the next 2,100 years, right? But especially during the next 20, when Pluto is in Aquarius. So by the time Pluto moves into Pisces in 2043, 2044, and it's gonna be there for 23 years, 24, I think, till 67 or something. This world will look very differently. I'm 100% sure about that. I don't know if I'll see it, but it's gonna look very differently. And these are the changes that we need to make. With the full moon in Scorpio that illuminated to us, like, okay, what it is that makes us feel disempowered. Well, we had plenty of opportunity to see exactly what it is. Like, not this again. This is not what we want. What you mean? And what you mean you did this for me and I didn't give a consent? Like, aren't you supposed to work for me? Like, this is what I mean. This is the kind of questions we need to start asking. And now, okay, well, what do we do? How do we do? I don't know. I don't have it all figured out. I'm just saying this is what's becoming very obvious to all of us, that we cannot keep going on like this anymore and say, well, I didn't do it. It's not my fault. It's not my responsibility. And then we all take the consequences of this, not doing anything. So again, I don't know how exactly any of this is going to play out, but we know that we cannot go in the same direction anymore because the machine is now turning and it's going to go in a different direction. So it's like we're going to be seeing some different horizons over there. So yeah, that will require changes. Changes are here. Changes are happening. And like I said, the next one, next lunation is the new moon in Taurus. Taurus. Who are you? What's your relationship to yourself? What do you think you can or can't do? We are unlimited divine beings, right? We're just playing this game of forgetting that. So anyway, guys, let's just pull some cards. I might not be able to pull all the ones that I wanted to because the time has run away from us, but let's just start. Okay, let's just start with the psychic tarot. Let's just start with the psychic tarot. That's a good, reliable information source. Okay, psychic tarot, please let us know about the energies that we are entering into with Mars and Venus moving into the signs of rulership next week and Pluto station in retrograde. Okay. Okay, I think this one. Ooh, conflict and defeat. Doesn't this look familiar? And I think it's a card that came up for my soul sister Marisa in one of her readings recently. I'm pretty sure I've seen it. 5 of Swords. Look. And we can see the painting on a wall is actually going in a different direction. Right? And this person is now defeated. Oh yeah, this came up in the stars and cards as well. I'm pretty sure. Yes, he's following the light because he's broken. Look, conflict. It's a 5 of Swords. Winning, but at which cost? We are like, this is how we feel, like, not again, where are we going, and you can see all this light, and he's going towards the candle, all this light. We need to start going in a different direction, because winning at which cost? You know, and it's all these thoughts in our head, all these thoughts that are telling us that it cannot be any other way. Oh, and at the bottom is the shadow. Moon! Oh my God, look at that. Moon. The past is coming around. You see, the light and the dark. It all exists simultaneously to show us, you see, the lunar and the solar. The lunar and the solar energy, and it needs to be balanced. So now we understand why it's happening, right? Oh, and right after underneath that was okay, let's take that as well. Rest and rejuvenate. Okay, so we have a Five of Swords. The conflict and defeat. This is how we feel. Are we ever going to move away from all these conflicts? Like, we feel tired, we feel broken, like not again, you know, not again. Whereas all we really want is to go to the light. But we need to face our shadows to go after the light. Like, he's looking at the small candle and there is all this light behind him. And then we have the shadow, and this is all happening because we need to balance the divine masculine and the divine feminine. The number 18, which is number 9. Number 9 is all about culmination, but it's not quite the end yet, but it's culmination, because this separation, it needs to end. We need to face our shadow to bring them to the light, and we need to balance the divine feminine and masculine, the disconnection between divine feminine and masculine that got us to this point. Right? The solar and the lunar, everything has a place. But yeah, but because we see the dark, we can see the need for the light. And where, as I mentioned in my previous videos, that all, like, what we can mostly see now, because it's so loud, is the manifestation of the dark. But that means there is more light streaming through too, because otherwise it wouldn't exist, right? We couldn't, universe doesn't make, you know, it doesn't make just too much of one thing. This is what people do while we learning, you know, in a school of life. We create too much of the same energy and then experience the conflict, right? We experience the problem, the conflict, because we experience the imbalance of our, you know, manifestation, like how things just became too, like it's crisis because things became too imbalanced. And this is where we can really see the dark and the shadow playing out next to each other. But also the opposite to this card is a hermit, number 9. So we need to learn from the past. Hermit is the Virgo, learning and adjusting. What are we learning from trying to win at all costs? You know, we're trying to win, we're trying to go into another battle until we're broken. So what are we learning from that? Because moon is about the past. The past is coming around to show us where there is imbalance. And yeah, and then underneath that was the rest and rejuvenate, which is the 4 of Swords. Taking a break, especially, I mean, with Pluto going retrograde, it's not like you're gonna take a break for 5.5 months, 5 months and 10 days. Why did I want to say 10 months? Interesting. What's gonna be in 10 months time? That's gonna be like another eclipse season, I believe, like, right? February, March. Anyway, so yeah, and isn't it interesting? He's sitting in the nature, rest and rejuvenate. We need to reconnect with the nature, because that's the place where we found the most balance, grounding. It's all that green, it's healing. And it's also about Taurus. Nature. Taurus rules nature. Venus in Taurus, it's all about nature and things that are natural, you know, without the fake stuff. So this is what we need. Get back to the ground. Rest. Connect. So I don't feel it's about inaction, but it's about being able to go within when you can, to reconnect with the true essence of who you are. But yeah, it's interesting, very interesting. Okay, let's see what the shaman, mystical shaman, has for us. Okay, mystical shaman. Okay, one. Oh, there are 3 cards. Okay, too many. Let's take one. Mystical Shaman about next week. Again, 3 cards. They're really jumpy today. Next week's energies. Okay, always 3 cards are popping out, so I'm gonna take them this time. What do we have? Coyote, number 12, 47, Smoky Mirror, and Serpent, 46. Here we go, Coyote. There's number 12, which is the Hanged Man. It's also number 3, which is about Jupiter, so different perspective. We're gonna see what the Coyote has to say. Smoky Mirror, 47, which is the number 11, 4 and 7, number 11. So what can we see? We need to go into stillness, go within to see beyond the smoky mirror. And the serpent is always about rebirth, always. The snake shedding old skin, and is number 46. 4 and 6 is 10, which is the endings and new beginnings. And we had the number 9 here. Number 9. Number 9, we had the number 4, which is about stability. Number 5, we are experiencing a lot of instability, a lot of changes and challenges. And yeah, number 3, it's about the growth. And 12, Hangman. We need to look at it differently, new perspective. Also, Hangman is Neptune, so it's about understanding the meaning. 47, closing of old cycle, beginning new ones. Oh no, that's a 46, number 10. 47 is the 11, which is master number frequency, and you can see all that purple. Violet ray, is that violet, what is it? Violet pill, you know, being able to forgive, so we don't have to keep recreating the same pattern. Because yeah, like Amanda Ellis was saying in her recent videos, the eye for an eye analogy will make the whole world blind. So somebody has to be the one to make a different choice, right? Okay, let me read these cards and what was at the bottom of the deck, because Beauty Way, number 4, in under number 4, isn't that interesting? Rest and rejuvenate, number 4, look all at nature. And we have, isn't it dragonfly? Yeah, dragonfly, a lotus flower. Wow, look at that. We have man meditating in a nature, grounding, you know, all the green, healing. Then we have a Buddha meditating, you know, and there is all that purple, the crown chakra, and with the sun around the head, you know, like the solar flares, bringing us opportunity for spiritual upgrades. And then we have the dragonfly. Dragonfly is very spiritual animal, and lotus flower being reborn. And there is also, you can't probably see it very well, but there is also a snake here, you know, snake shedding old skin. Okay, let's read all these cards if we have time. Okay, so we start with the coyote, because I'm not quite sure what this card represents. I'm gonna be honest. I never pulled that card for myself before, so I am not fully certain. Okay, coyote, what coyote has for us? The essence. The coyote is the symbol of the sacred trickster. Oh! The one who provides the tools for growth and understanding by ensuring that things don't go as planned. The coyote brings the energy of divine deception to set you free from shackles of that which doesn't serve you. Right? Sometimes it appears that you will get everything you want, only to find that coyote brings you the opposite of what you hoped for. The lessons offered by coyote might at first appear confusing, but they are most sacred and always for the highest good. The invitation, the coyote calls to you this time to pay special attention to detours and disappointment, as they are true tests of faith. You have set the intentions and turned them over to the Great Spirit, yet you might find yourself lost and confused when it appears you are being led off course, off the path leading to your most cherished dreams and desires. Remember, this coyote is a sacred trickster and might be leading you into challenges to ensure that you are ready to handle what you set in motion. Great growth and understanding come to you when coyote calls your name. So that's that one. And then the medicine. Are you being seduced by what you think you desire? Could it be that the more superficial, sparkly, shiny aspects of your ambition let you in this moment? Perhaps you feel that in order to get what you desire, you have to compromise yourself, control others, or manipulate situations to ensure your goal is met. Coyote howls in the shadows to remind you that this may be a lesson too painful to learn. Beware the shallow waters right now. Something or someone might pretend to be deep, but that doesn't make them so. No matter how seductive their superficial traits and how beautiful, sparkly they appear, all that glitters there will not turn up gold, no matter how many wishes you make to change that. This really, really, to me, represents this card. Winning, but at what cost? Being seduced by what? Where, this is not what we want. This is not what we want. Right? So there's the coyote. Okay, the second one was the smoky mirror, the 47, which is the number 11. Oh, it came up straight away. There we go. The smoky mirror represents the aspect of what is implied yet cannot be immediately known in the world, the mystery of how things come together and how they fall apart without obvious causality. This symbol also represents the shadow of the human psyche, the part of the self that one disowns. The smoky mirror can also represent a state of denial or the inability to refuse to see the truth. The invitation: when the symbol of the smoky mirror appears, you're invited to see beyond your own self, acknowledge that past the limits of your current ability to perceive, there is a vast interconnected world where events are orchestrated in divine order but challenging to fully grasp. Now is the time to trust that no matter what the current conditions of your world reflect, in the hidden realms all aspects of the human journey are celebrated. The beauty and the darkness, the misery and the courage. No matter where you are on your journey, know that some things are meant to be mystery, which you are meant to understand only through experience. Take heart, for the smoky mirror will ultimately show you beauty and wonder once the fog lifts the distortion you see now. And the medicine: understanding the shadow of the human journey requires that you go deep into your story and discover the wounds that prevents you from seeing the truth of your current situation. Right? Your fears and expectations of disappointments and unworthiness, Taurus, in a shadow, might be clouding your capacity to see the potential in yourself and others. The smoky mirror might be showing you things you don't want as a result of your conditioning. These can become even more real, but only because you are making it so. The choice is yours. The world will hold you accountable for what you see and create. Can you see through the eyes of truth and faith instead? Wow. So that's that one. So deception, situations come in, conflict and despair, the shadow is coming up to show us. Oh, that's my stomach. And now let's see the serpent. Oops. Okay, the thing just closed. Okay, let's see the serpent. Serpent is usually about transformation, and you can see the huge sun behind it, and the black, it looks like a dark moon, like a new moon, and also, you could even say like an eclipse. So let's see, serpent 46. This is the number 10, which is about the endings and new beginnings. Essence: the serpent is the life force of Mother Earth. Here we go. The coiled serpent of Kundalini brings passion, healing and renewal. She offers the fruit of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden and reminds us to shed the past the way we shed her tired old skin. Serpent comes to offer you the forbidden fruit that will set your passions and creativity free. The invitation: the serpent power of the Kundalini is stirring within your chakras, gently asking you to embrace its mystery. Shed the old skin that you have been so attracted to and welcome the vulnerable pink underbelly that will bring you a fresh experience in your life. Your passion and sexuality are awakening, and this can be scary. Trust the wisdom of serpent to transform your sensual energies into beautiful or original manifestation. The medicine: when you shed the past gracefully, life will not strip it away with great drama. Indeed, this is something you want to avoid. Do not use your energies to seduce others or allow yourself to be seduced even by your own ideas. Here we go. So this is really connecting also to what I was talking about with Adrian in our collaborations about collaboration about the Scorpio full moon, about how we were being disconnected from ourselves, our body, and also our sexuality, whereas actually sacral chakra is where we create. It's the chakra through which we create. So I feel this is also in other aspects of what we experience in the world right now, to make us reconnect with ourselves fully and embrace who we really are and what we came here to experience as humans, and what is really part of it, and whether it's part of it, individual experience or not. You decide, not a religion or a philosophy or something. This is up to an individual to decide. So again, what are we shedding? The old layers of ourselves. This serpent, very interesting. All these different circles, we can see all these different circles, and the Kundalini rising, because we are awakening. Shakti, life force, we are awakening. Okay, and the beauty way, this is the last one, the one that was at the bottom of the deck, and I'll have to end it that. I'll leave the rest for my practical application of astrology. Okay, this is the one with the dragonfly and with the lotus flower. Okay, let's see. The beauty way, number 4, which is the number of Saturn. And look at this lotus, is like golden. It's like the sun. We have all this light in the cards. The beauty way is both a path that you travel on and a daily practice. The path is where you choose to perceive only beauty before you, behind you, and all around you as you journey through life. The practice is where you take action to bring beauty to every situation you are in. When things get ugly, you act to bring integrity and peace to the difficult encounter. When everyone else perceives only darkness, you point out the light and help uncover the hidden treasures. The invitation, the beauty way, invites you to create beauty in your life and to recognize the beauty inside yourself and in others. Stop to smell the roses, take a deep breath, look up at the stars and recognize the splendor that surrounds you. See the beauty in whatever situation you find yourself in, and you will receive the lesson that life is teaching you in a kind and gentle way. The medicine: stop trying to fix relationships that you believe are broken. Recognize that things are exactly as they need to be in this moment and acknowledge the inherent beauty in that. When you understand this, you will be able to bring about the change you want. Do not engage in gossip about the darkness and flaws of others. Be careful not to be seduced by the superficial beauty of a project or relationship you are toying with unless you are willing to pay the price for it. Okay, so this also, what it speaks to me is about this understanding meaning in every situation. So like with what's going on in the world right now, and like with everything that's going on, even in our life, or everything that's ever happened, we need to understand the meaning. And this is what I keep coming to over and over and again, that we need to understand the meaning in order to, like to learn the lesson and to move on. Like it said, to create the change, we need to accept this. But the other aspect that I can see in this is this Venus in Taurus. Venus in Taurus is very sensual. It's very about reconnection with yourself, reconnection with nature, like this guy. And these are the 2 cards, number 4, the 2 4s. So it's about reconnection. It's about to create this stability and security. So it's also what I was mentioning in my previous videos. I think it might have been this lunar eclipse in Libra. That we can see all this imbalance, we can see all this darkness and suffering and pain, but if we're going to then make ourselves miserable, we contribute into the same side of the scales. So when we see all this distraction, we need to focus on creating the beauty, and this is really actually very important, you know, in the world. We didn't come here to just suffer and have all these negative experiences. They are part of life, all the dense experiences, but at the same time we can see an opportunity to create something beautiful out of that. How many people like bought a land that was completely destroyed, or you know, whatever, and then I know that there were stories about people, I think it might have been somewhere in Brazil or something, where I don't know exactly, I don't remember the details, but there was a couple that bought this land that was like completely like, you know, like I don't know if there was a fire or something, it was completely destroyed. Like there was no beauty, no nature growing there. And I think it was a fire in there or something. And then within, I don't know how many years, they created a forest, you know, they brought something beautiful, they grow something beautiful. So this is what I mean. Yeah, we can see a lot of destruction in the world, but from that we can also still create beauty. You know, how can we turn this which we see, which make us feel hopeless, and like there is no other way, what we're going to do, you know, it's just the same repeating itself, the world will never change, but how we can actually focus on that which we do want to create alongside with all this that is happening. How can we create more beauty into in our life? How can we focus on these emotions and experiences that we want to experience in the world, you know, because they have to start from somewhere. This is also something that I've already brought through previously, that if we want to create something, we need to tap into how it feels and how we you know, like for example, so create this in a microcosm, you know, this peace and beauty and harmony. Do we even know how it feels? Are we experiencing this in our life? I'm not saying 24/7, you know, because I don't know if that's possible, especially like right here, right now, this experience we're going through at this stage of our transformational journey. But do we have this present in our life? Can we take these moments, you know, in our days to just go and sit in the nature under the tree ground and meditate, or you know, whatever we do, you know, like this Buddha, connect with our emotion, all that water, all the cosmos, all the purple, all the light. And you know, can we create some of this in our everyday life so that we can keep co-creating some beauty, send the vibration of higher frequencies, so we can actually awaken this Shakti, this life force, and create something different, right? So we can embrace both. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna go, and I hope that this was helpful, and I'll speak to you from Slovakia next time. Okay, much love everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I'll record my practical application of astrology on Sunday. Much love. Bye.